This executive brief was prepared and presented by Alex Steele to give an internal view of Vestas Wind Systems as an organization. The executive brief will cover a short history of the organization's hierarchy and structure, its culture, domain, and environment, its strategy, growth, and challenges that it faces today. Vestas began early on as a company run by the Hansen family in Denmark as blacksmiths, eventually being known for their hydraulic cranes, kitchen appliances, and other general machinery. With an oil crisis looming in the 1970s, Vestas turned their attention to developing wind turbines. Technology continued to develop over the years, and Vestas was on the forefront. These days, Vestas is known as a leader in the wind industry and continues to push its technology so it can become a more affordable and reliable source of energy for years to come. Vestas's leadership hierarchy is typical of many global organizations. Located in Denmark is the executive management team led by the CEO, Anders Runevad. Under him are senior vice presidents that lead different functional teams: service, sales, manufacturing and sourcing, which is led by the COO, finance led by the CFO, and technology led by the CTO. Beyond these group functional heads are the senior vice presidents of each regional location that report to the head of sales. There is one head that leads each of North America, South America, Northern Europe, Central Europe, the Mediterranean and Africa, and Asia Pacific. This structure works well as it limits the span of control the CEO must oversee, as he can simply rely on his head of sales to report on performance from each region. Other directors and senior managers exist in these regions that report to the heads of each region, such as the regional financial managers, but they also report on performance to the CFO in Denmark. With that being said about the hierarchy, it is easy to understand how Vestas can be considered a tall hierarchy with multiple levels between the CEO and the employees in each region. Having a tall hierarchy helps such a large business keep its span of control centralized. The group's senior vice presidents direct the heads of each region on goals they are expected to meet for the year, and those heads are responsible for managing their region's performance. It can also be said that Vestas is mostly a mechanistic setup, as many operations are expected to follow standard procedures to perform tasks. However, there are still organic aspects in the corporate office. Task forces and teams are often created to solve and manage new issues that arise, rather than management making decisions on how to handle every issue. Finally, considering that Vestas also manufactures its own turbines in factories in several countries, there are taller hierarchies in the overall organizational structure for the manufacturing function. Organizations that have assembly line type manufacturing operations usually have several levels of management. Organizational culture is the set of values and norms that control the interactions between members in an organization, and it is important for those within an organization to understand the culture. Socialization is important to be deployed for new employees to quickly understand what is expected of them. At Vestas, animated training material is used for new employees to watch and understand what is valued at Vestas, such as innovation and flawless execution. Beyond that, new employees are often quickly integrated by being given a set of responsibilities early on, with mentorship coming from their managers. Vestas prides itself on employing innovative engineers, highly driven sales leaders, and customer-focused service leaders whose primary focus is to make sure turbines are running reliably for our customers. Vestas's main competitors, such as GE and Siemens, are organizations that have wind divisions as just one aspect of their business. Vestas is different in that it solely builds and services wind turbines and is not involved in any other industry. Vestas has always been a leader in wind energy and strives to be on the forefront of innovation. But being a leader in innovation means many challenges are to be expected, and problem solving is a skill expected from everyone. There are several different domains that Vestas operates in. The first is manufacturing wind turbines. delivering them to wind developers, and in some cases, installing them. Another is servicing wind turbines. With nearly all orders to supply wind turbines to customers, Vestas also sells a service package of 5 to 10 years to maintain those turbines. Finally, for the wind farms that Vestas no longer services, Vestas sells proprietary parts to customers that need to keep their turbines running. The environment is the set of pressures and forces that affect how an organization operates and its ability to acquire scarce resources. These forces can be placed into either the specific environment, which are the forces from outside stakeholders that affect an organization, or the general environment, the forces that shape the specific environment and affect all organizations in a particular environment. Listed here are some of the factors in Vestas' specific environment. Competition includes GE Wind and Siemens. Suppliers also affect the specific environment, and there are many for Vestas. Vestas sources raw steel and fiberglass to build the shell of their turbines, while gearboxes, wires, and cables and other internals are sourced and assembled into the turbines at the factories. In the general environment, political, economic, and international forces affect Vestas and the wind industry as a whole. For instance, the wind industry in the United States is reliant on government subsidies to be in place to make buying wind turbines economical for Vestas' customers. Also, global initiatives such as the recent Paris Agreement help steer the focus on the necessity of clean energy solutions. There are 3 aspects that shape an organization's uncertainty: complexity, dynamism, and richness. The items listed here shape the environmental complexity. Dynamism is another aspect of an organization's uncertainty, which is the degree to which forces change in the general or specific environment. In the U.S., each year the organization is unsure if the government subsidy will be extended, ensuring business. However, last December it was extended for 5 years, so the dynamism has been reduced from that aspect. Richness is the final component leading to an organizational uncertainty. Luckily, more and more resources are becoming available as wind becomes recognized as a necessary energy source, so the richness is increasing, reducing uncertainty. An organization's strategy is the specific pattern of decisions and actions that managers take to use core competencies and achieve a competitive advantage. Vestas' overall strategy is to continue to grow while remaining profitable. This year, to grow the service side of its business, Vestas acquired Upwind Solutions. Upwind Solutions has contracts to service wind farms that have turbines built by many of Vestas' competitors. With the acquisition, Vestas now not only services its own turbines, but GE, Siemens, and other turbines as well. This strategic move helps its overall strategy of growing its service business by more than 30%. They also hope to grow in emerging markets as well, as seen by a massive project Vestas won in Kenya, which is the country's largest private investment ever. Africa is not seen as a major wind market, but that may change. These corporate-level strategies are designed to use the company's core competencies and protect its domain while expanding into new domains. Many organizations go through a cycle of organizational birth, growth, decline, and death. Vestas is still considered to be in organizational growth and may likely remain in that stage as the wind industry continues to be in a growth phase. Clean energy is beginning to replace older energy industries such as coal, which someday soon may move to organizational decline if it hasn't already. Vestas has survived as an organization during its growth by being specialists in the wind industry, while their competitors are generalists. A company such as Siemens competes in many markets, but Vestas is solely focused on wind energy, so Vestas is able to develop the core competencies to outperform their competitors. However, when the wind industry suffered, as it did during the economic downturn in 2009, Vestas suffered harder than companies like GE because they could rely on other domains for survival. Fortunately, the amount of turbines being delivered has increased the last 3 years, and 2016 likely will show continued growth. There are some challenges that Vestas faces. There is only so much manufacturing available at the organization's handful of factories strategically placed in Colorado, China, Spain, Denmark, and Germany. However, with increasing demand in many countries, regional offices are having to compete against each other to secure the limited amount of manufacturing capacity for projects being sold. In years past, the communication lines between sales and manufacturing were not as strong, and various sales teams oversold the amount of manufacturing available to them, leading to the inability to deliver to contract and severe financial penalties. Also, while Vestas has always been seen as a leading innovator in wind technology, the competition has closed the gap and is pushing to offer a more affordable and more reliable product. Fortunately, competition can lead to further innovation. Vestas was a generalist in its early days in the 1900s, but in modern times it became a specialist in a young but ever important industry. While Vestas's span is wide over many countries, its structure is built to stay narrow and tall so that direction from the CEO and management is clear and kept centralized. There are many factors in the specific and general environment as well, and this leads to a complex environment that Vestas operates in. But if Vestas wants to ensure profitable growth, they must drive down the levelized cost of energy and make sure they continue to innovate to make wind energy competitive economically with more traditional forms of energy.